Okay, today we are going to take our paper fabric pieces that we created. Our virtual kids took a piece of notebook paper and we folded it in half again. And what we're trying to make is 12 squares, 12 rectangles, excuse me. So those of you that are at school, you received 3 pieces of paper. And on these 3 pieces of paper, what we're going to do, some of you did just an all-over fun design. Some of you folded your paper in half and made 2 designs. And some of you decided you just wanted a whole lot of designs on your paper fabric. So what you did is you took the 2 long sides and you brought them together and folded it in half. Then you took the 2 short sides and you brought those together and folded them in half. That's how we're going to cut these apart. Does that make sense? So, since this one is already folded into fourths, and if you haven't done this yet, this is what we're going to do. Take one of your rectangles. Take the long side of the rectangle, bring it up to the other long side of the rectangle, line up your edges, and crease it down. Alright, now we're going to turn it, and I'm going to bring the short side to the short side. Bring that up to the top there, and crease that down. See how now I folded my paper into 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and let's get this one. So, long side to long side, crease it. Alright, turn it tall. Short side of your rectangle to the other short side of your rectangle, and crease it. Now, yes, you need to have these all colored, so if those are not colored, you can pause the video and finish coloring those. But what the rest of us are going to do, we're going to cut on our folded lines. So instead of having one big rectangle, we're going to have 4 small rectangles. 1, 2, and let's cut on this folded line. 3, 4. So you're going to go do that to all 3 of your papers. Now my virtual students, you guys are going to be taking your papers. Let me finish cutting this over real quick. Got all 3 of those cut. So you will have, let's see, 4 plus 4 is how many? 8 plus 4 more, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that makes 12. You should have 12 little rectangles. Okay? My virtual people, and if you want to do this at home, you can take a piece of notebook paper, and we turned it and lined up the long side to the long side and creased it, and then took the long side to the long side and creased it again. Then we turned our paper, I know it's a lot of folding, and brought the short side of the rectangle to the short side of the rectangle, and we folded it one more time. Oh my goodness, the short side to the short side. Okay, now that we have that all folded, I'm going to cut these guys apart. Cut on my folded side. It's by folded lines. So I'm just start opening these up and cut on my folded lines so that that makes 12, count them, 12 rectangles. You're like, Ms. Miller, those are white. I know, because I colored the other side. It's okay. Okay. And so it has a hole in it. Good deal. That is okay. It's part of the overall fun design of your quilt. And see, when you fold your paper like this, you can cut, 2 at the same time. which is very, very handy. All right. So y'all should have, I know I'm trying to cut fast so I'm not wasting your time. Now, before we even think about opening up that glue, don't even look at the glue. Okay, so there's you're at home if you'd made your own paper or if you took papers that you found. All right, so now we want to lay out our designs on our paper. Okay, so let's see. Now, if you wanted to, those are fun. Let's see if I can offset some of this. Alright, I'm going to put the fish over here. Now, yes, the hairy eyeball. Let's put this over here. Separate the hairy eyeballs. Okay, now, yes, there's a problem. So what we're going to do, we are going to put these two. See how they're too big? If we line them up, this is lined up to the corner. These two guys will have to overlap. Now you can overlap them here in the middle. You know, go ahead and get this side on and this side on and then just overlap those sides. That might be the easiest thing to do. Now, you need a place to do your gluing. Yeah. And you already have your idea page. So for my idea page, I'm just going to turn my idea page over to the back. So that's going to be my glue station. I'm going to take one of my rectangles. Yes, I go around and get all my edges. Now you notice we laid it all out first. And then I'm going to put my squares on top. Squares. Are these squares? No. Miss Miller needs some sleep. Whoops. Okay, so line up your rectangles. So now that we did this first, because you know sometimes if we rush in and we make, ooh, that was not a good decision, you know, and it's hard to peel something back up or the paper tears. This is just a lot easier and it saves you some frustration. Lay it out first. Good gracious. And then we'll glue it down. So I'm going to get that side. Now, these two in the center, I'm going to hang on to them, so I'm going to turn this whole thing around. And let's get this side. So here's my little gluey paper, your idea page. Okay. And you're putting it right in the corner. Right in the corner. And we'll turn the whole thing over and rub the daylights out of it, because you know glue stick has to have that, you have to really rub it for the glue stick to stick, don't you? Okay, not that one. Get the little red fish. My hairy eyeballs. Okay. All right. So now we have these two. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom. You're like, what? Hang on, let me show you. So I've got the top and bottom. I've got the two long sides. So I'm going to put this one down, line him up, and glue him down. Take your other one. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? Except we're going to line him up right there. And they're going to overlap each other. Okay? Let's get this other side. Let's put the hairy eyeball on top. So the little red fishies will be on bottom. Okay. So they go on the bottom, and then we'll flip this last one over. Okay. And line it up against this rectangle, and it just overlapped. Okay, now turn the whole thing over, rub the daylights out of it. Because glue stick really does need that pressure to make sure it sticks. Now, on the back, you're going to need to write your name and put your teacher code. Okay, that's very important. Now, if you have not finished your idea for your story quilt, what is the personal story that you want to relate, that you want to illustrate? My story was finding my dog Scooter, who was this little bitty ball of fur in the middle of the road, and didn't want her to get hit by a bus and couldn't find her home. We went for blocks and blocks and couldn't find her home. So this is what we want to do. Once you have your paper fabric done to make the quilt around the edge, telling the story like Faith Ringgold, we want to brainstorm, what is your story? It's a personal story, something about you, something, or you and your family. A simple illustration. We're not drawing like a Hindi Wiley. It's just going to be just really simple. You know, I like to do kind of stick people, and then I put, you know, my little stick person getting my dog here. So if I'm squatting to get my dog, I can draw rectangles. There's my shoulders, and my shirt, and my knee, and my pants. I'm going to need a booty. Okay, and then you need your other leg. And since it's farther away, we won't comment about that. Since it's farther away, we make it a little bit smaller. Look, that's the letter L. And then I can kind of put on my little shoes. And I'm going to need another arm, so if it's farther away, I'm just making a shorter version of this one. Okay? So if you want to do your stick person and, hey, it's me waving at you, hello, you know, do your stick person. And then kind of put some clothes on you. You know, and the legs can be simple rectangles. You know, if you want, you can make like a mitten hand if you want to. What I sometimes do when I go to make my hands is I kind of make them like that. And then I can go back in and put a couple of lines, but not really worried about fingers. You're not putting fingernail polish on anybody, you know. And shoes. 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 Okay. And get yourself some hair. We all know you don't want to just put hair right up here at the top, because then it looks like you got a funny mohawk. From the side, I need a nose and face and hey. Okay, but if I want hair on my head, I've got to bring it around. Otherwise, it looks like, you know, somebody shaved my head. We've drawn portraits enough to know. Eyeballs, nose, nose. Might need a neck. Would be helpful. Okay, so on your idea page here, brainstorm a personal story that you want to share and illustrate it. And sometimes what I do is I do little mini pictures. How am I going to do it? Because this is a nice big rectangle. And the way we're going to finish it off, we will write, I did 2 sentences. While traveling in front of a bus, I found a lost puppy with no home, period. I took her to my house and called her my Scooter. 2 sentences. Okay, so brainstorm on your paper. Make sure your name is on it. And Miss Roby's going to take your paper, your story quilt that you've started, that you've got the quilting paper fabric on, and your idea page. You know, do your little rectangles, figure out what story you want to write, and if you want to write a couple of sentences about it, because we will write a sentence or two somewhere. You might write it around the edges if you want to. You might want to take one side and write your little sentences, whatever you want to do. And eventually what I did is I was thinking about how I could make it look like I stitched these together, but we'll worry about that next week. Okay? Okay. All right, so let's get this done, get it all glued, and brainstorm for next week, and then we can get that part done. We'll see you next week. Have fun.